is run by a bunch of investment bankers, and Morningstar's tools can help make
How does spending in retirement differ from spending at other life stages? Here to help answer that question is Jaidev Shergill. Jaidev is the CEO of Bundle.com. Jaidev, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So let's talk about this question. Bundle looks at a lot of data about spending patterns, and you've been able to break it down based on demographic and where you live and life stage. So what do you see when you look at the data about how retirees spend their money, and how is that different from people who are at other life stages?
Yeah, Christine, it's a really interesting question. And I think for the first time, a company, which is us, Bundle.com, actually has that data at a level of granularity where people can actually look at not just averages, but specific data within different age groups, within different geographies, narrowing down to a zip code, within different household status, and also within different income levels. And one of the things that we found, particularly for people moving into retirement or on retirement, is that people can look at that data as well with different lenses on. So, for example, if I'm living in Florida and I'm in my retirement ages, I might be spending very differently based on my income level than people living in New York who are at their retirement ages. And we have that information and we're able to tell some of those differences.
So say I'm someone who's planning for retirement. You often hear about this 80% income replacement rate that you might target for spending in retirement versus what you were spending in your working years. What do you think? How can you use Bundle.com to help aid in that decision-making process of what's realistic for in retirement spending?
I think there's a lot of confusion around trying to figure out the right amount of spending that's anticipated during your retirement years, especially if you're doing that calculation in different years of your life. Right. So one of the things that we found is that using the data on millions of people and how millions of people have spent, we actually see that on average, excluding rent and mortgage, a retired household spends about $32,000 a year. Mm-hmm. That dollar amount is actually the same as one would spend when you're in your early 30s. So if you were to think about how much you'd spend in your retirement, a good bet would just be to figure out how much you're spending in your early 30s, and that's probably the number that you're going to start hitting.
So even though in your early 30s you're probably spending on other things, the dollar amount nets out to be the same as people's spending habits in retirement.
That's right. And, so we actually did some analysis to try and figure out what those category swings might be. So, we all know that healthcare spending goes up when you are 65 plus and in your retirement age. The question is, do other categories go down, and what are some of those big categories? So I made some small notes to myself over here. So healthcare cost actually doubles from basically the ages of 18 to 35 to the retirement year ages. But there are several categories that go down substantially. So in general, shopping, shopping for clothes, shopping for shoes, shopping for household appliances drops about 50%. So on average, a person who is, between the ages of 35 and 55 spends about $10,000 a year on shopping. In their retired years, they spend about half of that. So there are some changes in, habit on, how you spend across those different line items.
Another interesting thing is being able to compare spending in various geographies with one another. Yeah. And I think that that's an interesting idea if you're thinking about relocation in retirement. How could you use Bundle.com to help think about whether your spending might be the same or different if you were to move in retirement?
No, that's a really good question. I think a lot of people assume that if they move to Florida, then the cost of living in Florida is going to be X, and therefore they can save some money. Mm-hmm. I think the answer that I would have, well, it depends what you want to do and where you want to live in Florida. If you want to live in particular zip codes and maintain the standard of living that you have based on where you are, that number could be quite different. So what Bundle.com has is it actually has the data at a detailed level for the zip codes that you potentially want to live in Florida, for the income band that you currently make or want to live amongst other people of a similar net worth in Florida. And with that, we can actually compare how you're spending and saving. So for anyone who's contemplating even a move for retirement purposes, I would say absolutely go to bundle.com, put in the criteria for where you think you might be wanting to retire to, and look at the spending of other people like you over there. And you actually might be quite surprised with those results.
And so you may be able to actually spend less or more or whatever it might be. But
that's right. It might be very different than just taking an average number for that whole geography.
Well, thanks, Jaidev. This sounds like great information. Sounds like there's a lot of great research to be done on Bundle.com. So thanks so much for sharing some of it.
Thank you, Christine. Happy to be here.
Thanks for watching. I'm Christine Benz from Morningstar.com.
At Morningstar, we feel it is important to schedule regular checkups of your investments. This is the reason we're pleased to announce Portfolio Monitor, a new and easier way to keep track of your investments. With a few clicks of the mouse, receive a monthly report that provides a comprehensive and customized summary of your portfolio, sent automatically to your inbox. Portfolio Monitor provides a concise digest of all the best features of premium membership. Become a premium member with our 14-day free trial to start receiving Portfolio Monitor today.